Hey there, this is part 3 of the video reading of the book, The Rainstick, a Fable. The book is by Sandra Robinson and illustrations are by Peter Grosshauser. Links to part 1 and 2 of this story are found in the information below the video. Please make sure you've watched 1 and 2 first. So what we have is the main character, the boy, who is, based on what the storyteller from his local village told him, searching for rain. He wants to bring rain to his village. His father was the rainmaker, but his father could not make the rain come to the village. So the boy is looking for the rain. And for those that don't know, I showed it in video 1. This is one example of a rain stick. And it really does sound like rain. So this is the third part of the book, starting with the bird. For those following along with the book, we are on page 23. The next morning, the boy followed a well-worn path. Often he stopped to rest, for breathing the damp air was tiring for him. Yet for a child to open the plains, he adjusted quickly. Yet for a child of the open plains, he adjusted quickly to the low light. The rich greens and the browns of the forest, with the rare flush of red of new leaves and the continual voices of birds. Only the occasional snake dropping from the trees to the path in front of him was a reminder that he was a stranger in a foreign land. That would scare me, snakes dropping from the trees. What about you? Yeah, I thought so. The boy stopped to listen to the call of a bird he did not know. Without warning, the rain came. For a long time he stood still. He closed his eyes and felt the soaking rain and rejoiced with a song of his people. The rain fell gently but steadily in the forest, and the boy was decided to take shelter. Close to the path he found a large tree. At its base, the roots overlapped. He rested in the protection of the massive tree and listened to the sound of the rain. He imagined single drops sliding down large leathery leaves, suspended for an instant at the green tips, and then falling like tears to the damp ground. Oh, the artist did a beautiful rendition of that, where the rain falls like a tear off of the leaf to the damp ground. Like the cradle songs mothers hum to their babies, the song of the rain comforted the boy. He thought longingly of his home. The rain turned to a fine mist, and he dozed. Suddenly he was awakened by the distant call of a bird. A caroo, to-do, to-do, to-do. On the ground was the most beautiful bird the boy had ever seen. Even in the low light of the forest, its feathers reflected the color of the sky and water. The boy moved his hand to the pouch that hung around his neck. He traced the shaft of the storyteller's feather inside. He did not have to look. He knew the feather had come from a bird like this one. Oh, the feather back in the first part was given to the boy by the storyteller. Oh, that's a beautiful bird that the artist drew. The bird moved quickly and nervously in the boy's direction. It cocked its head to the side and looked at the boy with a bright eye. Then it turned and flew a few feet away. The bird repeated these movements several times. Finally, the boy said to the bird, "I think you want me to follow you." The rain had stopped and the forest smelled of rich earth. The bird flew a few feet ahead of him and the boy followed. Although the bird always remained just out of the boy's reach, it never allowed him to fall too far behind. Finally, the bird broke into a clearing and landed on a high wall. The boy gasped. They had come to a village. Suddenly, the bird threw back its head and sang in a beautiful song. The boy was afraid a villager might see him. He picked up a rock and thought to silence the bird. Oh no, does that mean he thought about scaring the bird away or even killing the bird. But he was so scared he thought about silencing the bird. As he had that thought, the bird's song entered the boy's heart. He lowered his arm, and the stone fell to the ground. From the other side of the wall, the boy heard noises of the villagers. Of all of their sounds, he only recognized one: laughter. The bird stopped its singing. In a blur of green and blue, it was gone. Suddenly the boy felt alone. He withdrew to the forest, but stayed close enough to hear the comforting sounds of the village. That night, as he rested in a large tree, he listened for the people. He heard the sounds of singing and dancing and the voices of drums. But there was also a new sound. He leaned forward and he strained to hear. Yes, it was the gentle sound of rain. He looked up. Through a break in the forest cover, the light of the moon shone. Although the boy could hear its voice, no rain fell from the sky. He shivered. What a wonderful and powerful people. They have captured the sound of rain. The next morning, the boy woke to great noise in the forest. The birds in the treetops did not sing with their beautiful morning voices, but shrieked with harsh, raucous calls of alarm, pounding the tree branches and lashing the leaves, and the monkeys screamed. For a long time, the boy cowed close to the trunk of the tree until the forest was finally quiet. It was as if a great and terrible storm had passed. The boy slid down the tree. Today he would go to the village. The mist was heavy in the forest, like walking through a cloud, he thought. But nothing moved and nothing spoke. Approaching the village, the boy sensed that the people were gone. He scaled the wall and dropped down the other side. The village had many huts that were shaped differently from the ones he knew. Where were the people? The fire burned under the cook pot where a thick liquid bubbled and popped. The boy stood before the door of a hut and looked at a great many things strewn on the ground. Bowls, spoons, woven mats, a mask. He quickly looked away from the people's mask. Next to the mask, he saw a long, straight tube lying on the ground. His forehead wrinkled in thought. He studied the strange tube for a long time, stretching out his hand as if the tube was a living thing that might strike out at him. He touched its rough surface, but nothing happened. More confident, he picked it up and cried out in surprise and joy when he heard the voice of the rain. A single blue feather was attached to the tube. What is it? Does it look like something that I showed you earlier in the video? When he tipped the stick sharply, it made the sound of heavy rain. If he turned it over slowly, the rain fell softly, as if dropping from leaf to leaf in the forest. With this instrument, the boy could carry the sound of the rain back to his village. He looked around. He could not just take the instrument. He fingered the bag that hung around his neck. The storyteller's pouch had been a great comfort to the boy on his journey. He removed it from around his neck and placed it at the door of the hut. He could not have known that the bag would mold and rot in the damp heat of the forest. The people of this village would never return. Turning his face toward home, the boy followed the path through the forest. He would take back to his village the sound of the rain and the stories of the place that the rain visited. Surely his father would be spared. Glancing at the rainstick, he thought of the riddle that the storyteller had given him. A slender staff touches earth and sky at the same time. The boy smiled, and to the trees, the snakes, the insects, and the leopards, he said, "It is the rain. The slender staff that touches the earth and the sky is the rain." As the boy tipped the rainstick, its voice blended with the song of the rainforest in time with his hurrying steps. Oh, that's a wonderful story. And near the end, he talked about how the rainstick made different sounds of the gentle rain. And then as you tilt it more, of the heavy rain. In the next video, I'm going to show you some of what's happening inside the rainstick to make this happen.